welcome back to another step-by-step video on the application of our masking kit on the 1-537 Reliant. So what I'll do is I'm going to clear this out and we'll start on the bottom of the hull. We've got 18, I think 19 sheets of masking here to do, and I'll get things cleaned off and we'll get started right away, as we don't really need to go into how to weed the mask because we've already sent out a video on masking 101, so everyone's kind of got a good handle on how masking needs to be done. So I'll get this all cleared off and we'll be right back and we'll get started. Okay, so before we get started with the masking, I'm just going to go over what we did for this instructional video. It was almost like the other models we've done. We've actually not built the whole model as one. What we've done is kind of build it into sections, so it'd be easier to use. So we have the top section, or the main hull section, the back is all in. We have both the nacelles and their pylons attached, and then we have this upper structure for the torpedo bay. So those are what we're going to be working on, the four of those together, painting those up, and then we'll get them all assembled. Now, one thing we did on the main hull is these impulse crystals. There's one on the top and there's one on the underside. What I did is, we have masking for that found on sheet number 4. It's just like the refit and the 1701. You can just pull these little pieces off and attach them to the clear. What we did with the clear though is we used some 4/0 steel wool just to take the shine off of the clear, which also helps it if you're going to light it, but it makes the glass look a little nicer if it's not really shiny. Also, the paint will stick a lot better to the glass or the plastic, clear plastic, once it's been buffed with the 4/0 steel wool. So what we did is we did that on the outside and the inside, and then we put our little black pieces on. And then what we've got is we've got on the blue sheet, sheet number 8, we have some circles. There's circles that just go on the bottom end where you'll be gluing them into the main hull. So we've got that. So once you start painting these crystals blue, you're not going to get any paint on the clear, and then that allows you to attach it to the main hull. Also, when you get to the main hull, we have circles that are found on the same sheet, sheet number 8. It's just a small little blue sheet. There's going to be one with a T and one with a B. B is for bottom, T is for top. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you an outer ring that you can actually paint all this light blue in here, and then attach the crystal to that, and then everything's all done for you. It's all clean. You don't have to worry about masking anything off. So what we're going to start with was we're going to start with the bottom section. I always tell people that when you're painting a model, always do an area that's going to be less seen, just so you can get a good handle on how things are going. You don't want to start on the top. If you're going to get mistakes, that's what everybody's going to see. So we're going to start on the bottom here. Now I'm just going to grab all my sheets and I'll be right back and we'll get started on the bottom. Okay, so as we're developing the mask for this kit, there's a whole bunch of different stuff that needs to be done to this model. That's why we have 20 masking sheets for you here. The bottom isn't too bad. All the grids are the same. On the top though, these two grids here, I guess just port side of center, these two seem to be a little bit smaller than all the rest. So we've already accommodated that. When we get to the top, we'll show you the two sections we have for here, and then the rest of the sections you continue on. But this, just like all the rest of the starships, it always has this kind of an E pattern on it, but the Reliant has two different versions of it. It has the one where the E's are kind of really close to the grid lines. These are the grid lines here. And then it also has ones where the E's are actually set back from the grid lines. So there's actually two different versions that go on here. And from what we can see is the very first one, which is the one on, where are we here? Center. So this number 1 right here. So this is what we're telling you to do. He's telling you to use pattern 1 from sheet 3. You're going to get two different sheets. You're going to get a sheet 3 and a sheet 3A. The 3A is the one with the E's that are right on the grid line. Sheet number 3 is the E's that are set back from the grid line. So as long as you go all your number 1s from sheet 3 and all your number 2s from sheet 3A should be okay. And then this kind of shows you how you weed them on one way, but then it'll also be positive, negative as we move forward. So what we need to do is we need to work on this number 1 where it looks like the bottom one has to all be pulled out. So just like this, we're going to get these weeded, and then I'll be right back and we'll start applying these. Okay, so I got all the lower part of the underside of this main saucer masks all weeded. It looks a little worse than it is. It's actually not that bad. If you go from sheet number 3, they're all the same. They all have the E's that are short from the grid, so every one of these will be the same. The mirrors of those are these guys, which is sheet number 3 that has the E's extended. The only thing I did, and I noticed, is when you get to the top here, this little area here, these little sections have to stay, these little black sections, and being this wax paper doesn't hold them too well, I just left these on for now. We'll apply them, and then it'll be easier for me to remove this the white section and leave the black sections behind. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing, we did paint test mock-ups, and this is kind of what we came up with for the main hull. It's going to be kind of a tan and a blue, and then for the top, we kind of these are not mirrored. Each one of these will be totally different, this side and this side, and it's the same thing. We're going to be doing the first pattern we're going to call is the tan color, and then your second pattern will be the blue. So we'll move on with that, and we're going to start applying these. And let's go back to our main sheet and just pick a place you want to start. We're going to start right on this one here, which is a number 1, which is found off of sheet 3. So we're going to just pull one of these off. Okay, so this is the first one we're going to start here, and all we're going to do is we're going to start along the grid lines. Put this thing right in the corner. I'm going to get my head in the way here because I can't see, but I'll try and do it without it. Right there in the corner. And then follow the grid line up to the center. And if you don't push it down too hard, you can always lift it up and readjust for your first one, because if the first one's done straight, then they'll all go down pretty good. Now you can use this if you want to get it to sit down to the hull. I'm just going to use my finger. Now if for those of you that watched the Masking 101 video we sent out, this is the model we used here. So we've actually used a matte paint on this, so the masks won't stick as hard as they will if it was gloss, but that's okay because we can makes them a lot easier to take off. Also, like we showed in that video, if you want, you can touch the back of these masks and take some of the tact off. That's not going to affect your output at all. Okay. So that's that one. That's the first one here. You can see here we've got the short E's. We've got this. So now the next one we're going to do is we're going to go to sheet 3A. Now again, this one is going to be, if you want, you can just kind of place it down to see how it looks, and as long as you've got a positive negative thing happening here, you're pretty good to go. We left these tops on again, like I'll show you that. I'm going to use the same clear we used before. Okay. And then these go on the opposite. So this is how you're going to know if you're doing it. If you've got a whitey on this side, you'll have blackies on either side after that. So same thing in the corner. Now the pattern is going to shift because these have the E's closer to the grid. These ones have the E's pulled down from the grid. So it's going to shift a little bit, but that's okay. That's the way the pattern was on the Reliant. We checked everything out. We watched the movie. Did stop motion on the movie, frame by frame. It kind of got a feel how everything looked, and I think what we come up is about as close as I can get with what we have on file. And this is the same clear that I used before, so like I said, that it can be used a couple of times. Like I said, we used the matte paint on this for the first time. I wanted to try it out. It works fine. It's a little harder to get the mask to sit in place. That'll work. Okay. So then once you got this one in, then you can see how we have to pull the center off. But once you've got it all pushed down, it's a lot easier to. I just don't want to pick at it too hard because I don't want to damage the hull. I just want to. Take your time and it'll all work out. All right, I think you got the gist of this. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these masks on, and then when I've got all these on, we'll come right back and continue on. Okay, so our first pattern on the underside of the hull has all been put in place. We're going to go ahead and paint this that tan color that we came up with for this. But once you get moving on and you get more comfortable with this, you can almost do this outer ring and this inner ring at the same time, paint everything the tan color, and then just remove everything. But what we've done for those who are a little timid in doing that, we've come up with some gray patterns, or sorry, some gray circles that we can actually lay on the hull. So if this hull was already painted, you could put this gray strip down, and then that would protect all this, and you can go ahead and paint the inside. We've got that for the top and bottom, so we can do that too. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shoot this with the tan color, and we'll come back, we'll take all this off, and then we'll move on. So just before we go to masking this off for spraying, we had a couple clients asking us if we would provide them with a strip sheet. So what we've done is we've done that. We have a whole bunch of strips in here, and they're actually 3 millimeters wide. So you can actually pull these off if you want. And this can be kind of your first line for your masking tape. And this will follow the curve really nice. And then you can go ahead and do that, and then finish this up with green masking tape. That's just another thing we've added on this. It'll also work on the inner circles too. We're going to do that, and we'll come back just before we're ready to shoot. Okay, so we're all taped off here, getting ready to shoot. You can see the pinstriping really helps out. You can just get an outline pinstripe and then just bring the tape onto it, and it actually makes taping going fairly well. And you get a lot of these. I mean, I only use this many. We've got the whole sheet here for you, so if you don't use them all up on this kit, you can use them on other kits. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this with the tan color, maybe 2 light coats, and that would be it. I don't want to go a real heavy coat, because that's when we have paint peel, is when you go really thick. So 2 light coats should be good enough, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've given this hull 2 coats of that tan color, 2 light coats. And before we take all the paint out of the gun, I'm just going to pull some of this off and see. You just want to have just a very faint little tan area there. I'm going to try and leave all the masking tape and that that pinstriping that I put on the top, and just remove all of this stuff. This way we can move right to the second section, or the second color, and we don't have to repaint anything again or retape anything off. So I'll tear all this stuff off, and I'll come right back when we're all done, and we'll move on to the second pattern. Okay, well, we got all the masking taken off, and you can see it's a very subtle effect we're trying to create. You don't want to go too dark, because you see a lot of people on the web that go too dark, and then they have to do a light white coat over top. So we're kind of going to a very subtle color. You can see our test was a little darker, so once we went to the real model, we just decided we'd whiten it up a little bit. I managed to keep most of the masking on, so that'll help us out for our second stage. Also, the other thing I'm going to try on here is what somebody's been telling me is once they use the acrylic paints, and they use like the Rust-Oleum makes a matte clear, and all I did is I just gave it a really quick coat of matte clear, and they said that'll also help if you have any problems with paint lift. Well, I haven't had any problems, but I thought I'd give this a try anyway and see how it goes. So anyway, we're going to go through and do the pattern, the second pattern on the bottom, and those are found on sheets 16 and 17. Then there's a whole bunch of pieces like this. Each section is totally different, so you can go ahead and just place them anywhere. These are actually cut a little bit larger than the sections, so you can have a little overlap, which is good, because this way you're not going to be having any blue paint on a straight line going down. If you do have a gap, then go back to your lines here, and you can cut off a piece and fill in the gap. But everything should work with this. Like I said, these are a little larger. I think it's 1 millimeter larger, so you've got like a 2 millimeters to play with in the middle there. So I'm going to go ahead and get those put on. I don't think you need to see me weeding all those, as there's lots to do. And then I'll come back just before we're going to go to the blue. I thought I'd mention a little trick with with these, being that there's so much weeding that has to be done, we're not using the clear to install these. Once we can just pull them off and lay them in place. So if that's the case, then we just take a piece of the wax backing paper that we had. This was the one off of 3. And if you just grab the end of the one that you want to do and pull it off, you can see that it'll leave a whole bunch behind, and then you can just lay this on top of here, and then that's less ones you have to weed. It saves a little bit of time. Try it out, see if you like it. Well, like any good plan, we plan to make these a little larger than the other ones, but inadvertently they still have a little bit of lines through them, so that's what we can use that black stuff for. As you can see, there's a lot to weed, but if you take it, what I found is if you actually grab this one and just jiggle it off, you'll end up leaving a lot of these behind, so it's less for you to weed. So that can go in the trash. So that's everything for this. Now we're going to paint this all that blue, a couple coats of blue, and we'll pull it all off. This, I didn't show you putting this mask down. It pretty much lays right in place. It's pretty simple, and then we'll shoot the blue and we'll come right back. Okay, so we gave everything 2 very light coats of blue, and what you want to do now is just before you, I said empty the gun, grab a corner and pull it back, and then you can kind of see the pattern. If that blue is good enough, I think that's enough for me. So now we can start pulling off all the masking tape and all the masks and see how it's going. So these we can throw away. We don't need to keep those anymore because the ones for the top, you're going to get a whole new set for that. Plus I think the grid lines are a little different on that. So I'll just pull some of this off so you can kind of get an idea of the difference. You can kind of see the pattern we're going after. Just nice and subtle. That's all you need. Alright, I'm going to clean that up and I'll be right back. Okay, well we got all the masking off and the taping has all been removed. I've given this all a coat of the matte clear just to protect it again. Now this is where I was saying we can either do the main, the outer rings, and the inner rings all at once, or if you wish to do it the way we did it, I'll show you now what we can use for this. So on sheet 13, we have a round disc here. Just pull this off and just start wherever you want. Start right on this side, and all you want to do is just not stretching it, but just following it around the grid line. The nice thing about the gray, you can pull it up if it doesn't fit just right. That will protect any overspray onto this side here. So now we're going to move on for the inner ring. On sheet 4, we're going to start right on this center line, right here. And these are all the ones that are right on here. I'm going to cut all these out. Now if you're really careful, you can kind of pull it off as one piece. The more and more you do, the more and more you get comfortable with it. Just don't let the sticky side fall down, as it'll pull up other masking. There we go. So there's this grid line that runs right through here. That's where we're going to start. Now these, when you're putting these on, they don't have to touch one another because you're going to be pulling off every second section. You're going to kind of create this pattern, but we need to do them as full sections first, and then we'll remove. So I'm going to take a piece of the clear, and we start with this one right here. So I'm just going to put a piece of clear in here, on here, and just hopefully pull this one right up. Okay. I don't need to cut this any closer because you can kind of see where it's going to go around. So what we want to do is we want to be on the grid along the bottom, press it up to the top, and then just pull the tape off. Now we go to the next one. Start right at the corner. Get it as close as you can. If you can't get it right on, don't worry about it. Like I said, we're going to be removing some of this anyway. Okay, I'll finish the rest of this and then I'll be back before we start removing some. Okay, well, we've got these pieces all on, and you can see I left some spaces just to show you can leave spaces, don't worry about it. Now we're going to start at the very beginning, the very center, and it shows on this one the two outer black ones stay down, the middle one comes up. So all we do is we just take the middle one and remove it. And what you're going to do is just repeat this pattern all the way through. So if there's a black one here, the one right next to it we remove. This is going to create that pattern that has little notches in it. So you can see how we've got all these little notches. We're going to be doing the tan on this, and then we're going to be coming back. We have a blue mask that goes over top for the blue. But I'll finish this up, and then we'll get started on the outer ring. We might as well shoot both of those at the same time because this is not a lot of masking that we have to worry about. It's going to be on the model too long. All right. Okay, so we got this pattern all duplicated the same on the instruction guides. The lower sensor array, we're going to do that after. It's too hard to cut all this around it once it's on. Plus, there's a lot of masking that's going to be on the sensor array, and it's just easier to do by hand and then place it on after the fact. All right, so now we're going to move on. We're going to go to page 5. Page 5 has all of the outer rings. The larger ones are for the bottom and the narrower ones are for the top. I kind of started doing that the wrong way, but we have them ready to go for when we do the top. If you have a light kind of at a 45-degree angle, you can see where all the little cuts are, and you can see whether it's pulling just the outer mask off or if it's pulling any of the parts you don't want off. So that's all done. All right, I'm going to clear all these and we'll get them on here. We'll start putting them on, and I will come right back when I've got all that for you. And I'm not cutting right up against the mask. I'm just kind of getting it close so there's less for me to deal with. So now we're just going to move these guys. Okay, I'm going to start this in the middle. Just press the top one and then remove the clear. The reason I don't want you to push the bottom ones or the edge down is because we're going to have to pull off sections to create a gray pattern. It's a lot easier to grab these now before they're pushed down. Then once we've grabbed the gray ones, then we'll move on and push them down. So like I said, it doesn't matter which ones you start with, just as long as you get them all down. And again, like it doesn't really matter whether they touch, but you might as well try and get them touching. You're going to be pulling some off anyway. If you find a spot right where, let me just pull this off. If you find a spot that's got a white line here, then maybe you pull this one off for your first gray or tan pattern. All right, well, I'll get the rest of these on and I'll come right back just before we start our patterns. Okay, so we got all our outer ring on, and this is where these backer papers that are been used already, you can use them to now use in this section. So what we're gonna have to do is you'll see how each one of these are in little squares. We're gonna be having a tan pattern, a blue pattern, and a white pattern. So there is no rhyme, there's no reason to which ones you're gonna pick off. I would just kind of lay it down and just kind of say, you know, this one here is gonna be brown, and then just place it on the card. And then maybe this one, and this one, And you're just going to pull them off and then place them back down on the paper so we can put them back on, because once we've painted these areas that tan color, we're going to come back and put all these masks back on here and then pull off assortment of ones that we're going to paint for blue. So I'm going to finish doing this up and then I'm going to mask this off, and I'll come back and just to show you what it's going to look like before we go to paint. Okay, well, I've got all the masking done. I used the black pinstriping, the sheets we give you to do around this edge. That worked out nicely, made it a nice, easy, nice, smooth transition, and then we could just tape around. Clear. We're going to paint all this the dark brown. I don't care about the middle. That's going to all be covered up by the lower sensor dome, so we'll do that. I'm going to give all this a coat of brown, or the tan, and I'll be right back. Okay, well, we got our tan paint on. I'm just going to pull up one of these and just see how it's, yeah, looks good. So we can pull all these off. So I'm going to pull all these off, and then I want to replace all the ones I did here. Now what I did here is this side here just starts in the back and goes to center, and then from center around to the back. So all we want to do is just replace these back over here. And you're going to be able to see which ones are tan. And then if you want, you can also touch these, take some tack off, and you'll be able to tell which ones are tan because you'll see the spray paint on the other ones. Then we're gonna lay up the middle section here for the blue pattern, and then we'll pull off some of the bottom pattern, and then we'll shoot everything with blue again. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, well, you can see here the black that I replaced. This is all the areas that were tan before. Now we're just going to do the same thing, only you don't have to save these ones now, because once you've done these, we're finished. So I'm just going to pull off a few, and we're just going to come up with a pattern and go from there. So that'll be the outside ring. Now for the inside ring, we're going to have to go to sheet 13, and we have all these pieces again that have the little pieces that have to be cut up, weeded. So if you want to try and, let's try and see if we can grab one. Just grab one and just give it a, nope, nothing come out. So we're going to have to pull all these out. I'm going to need a magnifying glass for that. A paper towel comes in handy for these really small pieces. They'll stick down to the paper towel. I'm just going to do one of these. These are really, really small pieces. They had to be small in order to fit the scale of the ship. If we would have made these squares too big, it just would have looked too bulky in here. So once you've got that done, you can just pull these off like we did the other ones on the main section. And it really doesn't matter where you start with these, as long as you just continue with them around. Okay, we'll fill all that up with all of these. We'll remove all of the rest of the areas we want blue, and then I'll come back just before we're ready to shoot. Okay, well, we got our second pattern pieces on here. These ones worked out a little bit better. I did make these a little larger, so there is room for overhang, so that worked out good. We removed all the rest of the ones we want blue. Now we're just going to go shoot everything blue, and then we can take everything apart. Okay, all the blue has now been applied. Now we can start taking things off and seeing how we did. right, well there you have it. Bottom of the main saucer pattern is all finished. I just want to mention that we've been using nothing but craft paints on this model. All different kinds of craft paints. We have the mixtures that we're using, although everybody's eye sees color a little different. So we'll have the mixtures in with our instruction guide, so you'll get to see what we're using. And I said once you do one coat and then give it a nice a light coat of matte clear and then go on to your next coat. We were putting these second pieces down probably 20 minutes after we had the clear was dry, and it doesn't take long to dry. So, well, I think this is a good place to stop. The first video, we're going to be running almost into 35 minutes of video time, so I think that's a good enough so you can get a basic hand on how we're going to do this, and then we'll move on with other ones. One of the things I wanted to mention is on sheet 8 here, being that you're painting the hull. On sheet 8 you'll find some circles, just a little blue circle. Those go on, I don't know if you can catch that. That's just, there's 4 of these that are on the back, so I give you 2 sets of these, so while you're painting your base coat, you don't have to worry about covering those up. And then there's also lights for the impulse crystals too. Those are on here, so you can get those on. Okay, there's 2 sets of those too. All right, well, like I said, this is probably it for our first application video. We'll continue on with another one after this. Make sure to follow us on Aztec Masking Kit by MaskDesign. There's probably over 3,500 members now all over the world that are eager to help you if you have a problem, or I'm willing to help you if you have a problem. And other than that, enjoy the build. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.